Hello everyone, it's Natalie Alaimo here from Natalie Alaimo International, and today we are joined with business coach extraordinaire Melanie Miller. So thank you, Melanie, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Natalie, and I'm a bit excited about the extraordinaire. I'll take it if you're going to throw it out there.
Yeah, why not? So Melanie, can we start off by telling everyone who you are, what you do, and kind of a little brief synopsis of how you got where you are today?
Oh, brief synopsis, that could be a bit of a challenge. So I am a business coach. I focus on helping small businesses grow and thrive. Majority of my clients are at a point in their business where they want to take it to the next level. They're just not sure how to, or the business has become a little bit overwhelming for them. So I tend to find that people come to me around the 3 to 4 year mark, because it's a real growth point within a business. How did I get where I am? Years and years and years and years of experience in running sales and marketing teams, general manager of different businesses, consulting for businesses on how to put together sales teams, how to put together marketing plans, basically any job that I could get where I would be thrown in at the deep end, and it was a bit of a sink or swim situation I just went for. And that's how I ended up getting into business coaching. A few years ago, I basically looked at everything that I loved about what I did in my role at the time. Everything I hated, I crossed out everything I hated, looked at the list of everything I loved, and business coaching fit perfectly. So I feel like it's a bit of a match made in heaven.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because often though, people get into business because they're really passionate about it, and then they forget about all the other stuff that comes along with business. And I think that by having someone like you that's passionate about all of business and helping people grow, you can really balance out people's passion with actually running a business and not a hobby, which is really important as well.
What I always say to people is, I don't want to know everything you know about your business. I want to know just about the business side of the business. Because, you should be the expert in whatever it is that you do. So if you're a designer, you should be the expert in design, and I'm never going to touch your designs or get involved in what's a good design or a bad design. My role within the business is to balance that out, and it's to look at the financials in the business and, the planning within the business, the time management, and to put those two things together. It's almost that sort of two heads are better than one. And I do find that majority of my clients are really creative. Okay. It's quite funny, actually. I think at the moment I've got 70 to 80% of my client base are in some kind of creative industry. So I do find when they're creative, they don't necessarily enjoy the business side.
I know that also, that a lot of your clients are women entrepreneurs, and was that kind of more of a conscious effort that you wanted to help women with what you were really good at within business, and so let them kind of focus, like you say, being the expert? Was that a conscious decision when you started your business?
It wasn't at all. I wanted to be a business coach, and I didn't think too much about target market, which I know sounds ridiculous because I should have known better, but I just wanted to be a business coach, and I targeted small businesses regardless of gender, and found that women loved being coached by me, and they were quite attracted to my coaching style. Men not so much. So I feel as though my target market almost chose me as opposed to me choosing it. And ultimately, they're a reflection of everything that I am in business anyway, ethics-wise and sort of passion-wise. So once again, it just sort of came together. I think I've struck it lucky there.
Well, because business, is so much about people and personalities, that particularly in a coaching environment where sometimes, you have to be tough with people, you've got to have that foundation that you do have similar ethics and values to be able to make it work. So, that's worked out really well.
I think female business coaches don't exist in the numbers that male business coaches exist in. And there are a lot of female business coaches out there that don't necessarily just focus on the business side. They maybe morph over slightly into the life coaching side.
Yeah.
Where what I am is 100% a business coach that wants your business to be more profitable and wants you to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's not in a let's sit down and do a dream board together kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's in I'm going to whip out of you all of your bad habits, and I'm going to stop you checking your emails when you're lying in bed at night.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why I get sort of the amount of business I get as well.
Yeah. Cool. And one of the things you've recently done, and I don't know if people can see on my iPad here, is you've written this book called You're Screwed, which is basically the 50 top mistakes that women make in business. And I think as I was reading it, there's so much of it that you can relate to as a woman in business. Did you kind of put yourself in there, or was it taken from clients, or a bit of both, or how did that process come together?
Definitely a bit of both. There probably aren't very many mistakes that I haven't made myself at some point. And, you know, whether or not it was running my own business or running somebody else's business. But it is also a combination of years and years of working with different women and years of doing, coaching sessions or audit sessions with women. And the problems, they were all the same.
Yeah.
It was always the same replication of issues. So that's where the book came from.
Okay, awesome. And is there anything specifically you'd like to share as tips for women that, you know, I know that women are very different to men in business, and I'm sure many men make different mistakes, but there are certainly some that, because of the nurturing personalities of women and, you know, the way they nurture and the way they just want to help everyone, it can be very detrimental to your business. So is there anything you want to share that's specifically women-based?
It's funny, when I first wrote it, I got asked so many times why I wrote a book for women in business and why I didn't write it just for everybody. And it is because women make very specific mistakes. That's not to say there aren't some in the book that men make as well, there are. But there are a lot of emotional mistakes that women make.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones for me is undercharging or undervaluing themselves. Women seem to think that they need to compete against everybody, and they never ever want to put their price at a point that they deserve. So that's probably the biggest one, where I don't find that men underprice as much as women.
Yeah.
Women are very easily swayed. If you say to a woman, "Oh, your prices are high," she's more likely to stand back and start to justify why her prices are what they are, where a man will fairly well just shrug it off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it'll be don't, mate. The same goes with product offerings. A lot of the times you'll say to a woman, "Oh, why don't you start offering this particular product or this particular service?" And because they have that need to please you, they'll start offering that, whether it's profitable or not.
Or whether they enjoy it.
Correct. Whether
Yeah.
they enjoy it or not. Yeah, whereas a man doesn't tend to want to please people as much as a female does.
Yeah.
So definitely the biggest things are women are a lot more easily swayed. There's a bit of a true story in there with names changed, of course.
Yeah.
Of someone who changed her pricing after we'd spent sort of quite a bit of time formulating the correct pricing for her business. Some family members told her she was too expensive, and she actually changed her pricing.
I remember that was that the lady that was working from home from a beauty salon from memory? Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about the book, because you put those stories in. You covered issues that are serious business issues, but it kind of read a bit more like a novel, and it was more enjoyable to read. And, you know, those stories, you can feel yourself. It's like, I'm sure you've read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Yep.
I remember when I read that the first time, I was doing a business course with a lady that owned her own cafe, restaurant, food stand thing, and she always used to say, "I feel like Sarah the baker," and you can imagine yourself within that story. And I think that's what you've done really well in the book, is made it completely relatable, and people go, "Oh my God, yeah, that's me in that story, that's what I'm doing."
You sometimes need to know that somebody else has made the same mistake that you have,
Yeah.
and you're not alone, because that's, you know, a common theme with the clients that I have. Often they'll ask me, like, do any of your other clients do this? Other clients get in trouble for doing this or whatever? And, you know, generally it's a general thing that they're all making the same sort of mistakes, but they think that they're the only ones that don't know, and they seem to think that they should know.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we were talking about before, where you're the expert in your business, you're not necessarily the expert in business. So there really isn't a formula of everything you should know.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, I know within my business there's certain things that I really enjoy doing, and there's certain things that I would rather just not think about, and that's when, you know, having that coaching environment makes you aware of things like, you know, that you need to be doing in your business. And I think it's something that everyone needs to have within their business to really take it to the next level.
A lot of the time it's just acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Know what you were not doing in your business. You're well aware of it. But it's somebody sitting in front of you saying to you, I've noticed that you're not doing A, B, and C, and you actually having to admit to it.
Yeah.
And then that's the point where you go, yeah, this is actually quite important, or I'm a bit embarrassed that I'm not doing that. You know, it's not like I've got some secret formula to making businesses successful. I wish I could say that I did. I'd be a billionaire by now, I'm sure. And, you know, a lot of the information that I'm giving people, they already know.
Yeah.
They just haven't put it into practice. It's like, I'm well aware of what a cheeseburger does to my behind.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop from eating the cheeseburger.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's the
right.
same thing in business. You know how distracting answering your email 17 times a day is.
Yeah.
But you need somebody to stand in front of you and say to you, why are you doing that? And you to think about it and go through the process and say, yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah.
Go to break those habits.
Well, and I think also, like we were saying before with women, you kind of, as a natural wanting to give all the time, we bend and make our business flexible to whatever comes along. And, you know, if that means someone answering something, and I remember years ago in one of our businesses, we had this customer that always made things urgent. And it probably took me a good 3 years to sit back and go, well, just because she thinks it's urgent doesn't mean I have to jump straight away and do everything for that customer. And kind of we're now in a better place where we set the ground rules for this is our business, and if you want to be our customer, this is how we're going to do things. And it's such a freeing experience where, especially when you're new in business, you run around trying to do everything for anyone, and it's just not, long term, it's not profitable, and it's not, you know, you go insane doing it.
It's not, and that comes back to a lack of planning and a lack of being able to stick to your own rules.
Yeah.
In business, one of the things, and I've said it to you so many times before, is you teach your customers how to treat you.
Yeah.
So if you let them send you urgent jobs on a Friday afternoon with the expectation that you're going to do it for them over the weekend and email it back on Monday, then they're going to continue to do it to you.
Yeah.
If you're going to allow them not to pay or to pay late or to bargain you down in price, you're teaching them the habit.
Yeah.
So you almost can't blame them when they continually want what it is that you taught them they can have.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I really struggled with was giving out my slides after presentations, and now it's just, my business partner and my business coach won't let me, I'm sorry. And that's kind of end of discussion, and it's just then it takes the onus off me, but, you know, someone else is setting the rules, and that's a great thing about having coaches and partners in business that can help you stand behind your own word.
You have no idea how many of my clients will say to me in a coaching session, oh, by the way, last week I told so-and-so that I couldn't do that because my business coach said I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Oh, yes.
And for women, that is a really, I don't want to say easy, it feels better to them.
Yeah.
Being able to say, this decision wasn't made by me, and there's nothing really wrong with that.
Nah.
You know, at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
As long as
right.
you stop the customer from doing what they're doing.
As long as the end result's the same, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and there's a majority of the time it is something that I would have said to them tell I'm your business coach then.
And I know one of the things that you think that's really important for businesses, and I'm the same, is to making sure that they really understand their sales funnel and where their leads are coming from so that they can convert them and those types of things. So I'm assuming that one of the reasons you wrote the book was to get people into the top of your funnel. And I know that you're also done quite a bit on Facebook. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your top of your sales funnel and how Facebook fits into that and how that's working for your business?
I find with business coaching, and I mean, I don't actually know if it's specific to me, but the way that I coach is quite unique in that I don't sort of fluff about, as you would know.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite black and white to me. This is what we're doing, and you're going to do it. And if you haven't done it, you're going to need to be answerable. So I'm probably a little bit harsh in that respect. But I just think that Facebook is important, that people almost have a chance to get to know me and know the way that I communicate.
Yeah.
Know my feelings and thoughts on business before taking that next step to meet me in person. Because business coaching is like picking, you know, a doctor or, you know, a therapist almost. It's you need to be able to connect with a person. You need to feel comfortable with them. You need to feel comfortable with the language that they use. Not that I use bad language.
No.
Language in terms of, are they speaking at a level that you're comfortable with? There's no having someone who speaks over you.
Yeah.
Or uses big fancy words for business that are just completely nonsensical to you. So by having Facebook, I'm able to communicate with people. My business comes 95% from referrals.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is massive.
Yeah.
Facebook has been really, really good in generating leads in that clients of mine will be on Facebook.
Yeah.
Be communicating back and forth with them. They will repost something that I may have posted.
Yeah.
And I end up with some of their clients following me.
Yeah.
Just seems to be this lead-on effect.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how Facebook works for me. I had one client following me on Facebook last September. They've been following me for 6 months. They felt comfortable with the way that I presented information. They rang me, booked a free coaching session, didn't even want to meet anybody else.
Yeah.
They just know you're the right person. So for me, that means I don't even have to pre-qualify.
Yeah.
They already know who I am, how much I cost, and they've already made a decision that they want to work with me. It was fairly well me going in making the decision if I wanted to work with them.
Which is where you want to be. And I think also the biggest thing with when you're choosing a business coach or anyone really that is going to get intimate with your business and with you as a person, because you kind of need that level of trust, definitely. Because, you know, if we're sharing, you know, yes, there's lots of wins in business, but we all know there's lots of low points as well. And you want someone that's going to help you grow, but also help you through the hard times, and that isn't going to, you know, share your financials all around town and those types of things. And I think by the process that you've set up is building that trust along the way so people feel more comfortable to pick up the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
like, trust is a huge thing in what I do, and you're right in that you need a business coach to stand by you when things are a bit rough and invest a bit more time with you when things are a bit rough. Yeah. And then when things are going well, we'll actually celebrate the wins with you. Yeah. One thing that I find really difficult about some business coaches is often I'll meet them at networking events and they'll say to me, I have taken this business from 1.5 million in turnover to 5 million in turnover in 2 years. And I think, what do you mean you've taken?
Yeah.
You know, you weren't running the business. You know, and I find that kind of stealing a win.
Yeah.
I think that that's a lot of the reason that people who follow me on Facebook and get to know me and get to see me celebrating my clients' wins and really publicising my clients' achievements understand that it is about their achievements.
Yeah.
It's not about mine.
And I think also what's important with that is, I know there's been several things that I've told you, and to me it's very blasé, it'd be like, oh yeah, I got this contract, or I spoke to this person and this happened, and I'll just say it in passing as a matter of fact of what I've done during the week, and you'll be like, but this is huge, you know, you did this and this, this and this. So I'm not one of those people that see things as a celebration, but then it's nice to have someone else acknowledge, you know, your wins along the way, and you need those wins in business to keep you going.
And when you don't have a partner in business, you're lucky you do. A lot of the businesses that I coach, they don't have anybody else involved in the business at that sort of top level management. So there isn't anybody to stop them and say to them, hang on, you've just done something amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that to them. And you need someone to enjoy that sort of stuff with, and almost you need someone to be able to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say brag, but you do want to pick up the phone and say to somebody, wow, I just did this massive thing.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with bragging every now and again.
I don't think there is either.
As long as it's done in a, you know, not over the top way and from a place of, I've worked really hard and I've achieved this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the things I also love about what you do on Facebook, and I use your example compared to mine all the time, is your sales process that you have. So people find you on Facebook and then they book in for the free coaching session. And we haven't run the numbers together, but I'm assuming because mine's a free ebook, it's an email address, it's a less intimidating way of getting people's contact details, you would get less people calling you, but your conversion rate to sale would be higher. Do you find that when people call you, they're always ready to book into that coaching session and then you follow through? Or do you find sometimes people still want to talk to you first and then it's always...
You want to book in.
Yeah.
Whether they phone or they email, if a lead comes from Facebook,
yep,
they want to book in.
Okay.
Even if I get a lead from the website and I follow up on that lead, often the lead from the website will come through with very basic information. It will just be a name, an email address and a phone number.
Yeah.
And I'll call that person and they'll just want a little bit more information about who I am or what I do or lots of different questions. And I would say 80% of the time that would go through to a free coaching session.
Yeah.
Facebook, I've never had anybody contact me that hasn't wanted to go through with the free coaching session.
Yeah.
They tend to give me a whole lot more information.
Yeah.
Don't you find that sort of ironic? We look at social media as being something where your information is not safe and people are very protective. Yet on the website I get nothing. On Facebook I get... I had a lady on Friday who's given me a complete breakdown of her business.
Yeah.
And why she needs help.
Yeah. It's because you've built that level of trust with people. And the beauty of it is you are marketing to many instead of, being on the phone all day, every day. And then it's the people that are ready to take the next step with you that are picking up the phone and doing that. So
yeah. I mean, the benefit of it as well is, and, you were saying to me about how does social media and my book fit into that sales funnel. And I wrote the book never to make a bucket load of money. I wrote it, one, because I do actually want women to do well in business.
Yeah.
That, we're in a slightly, can I say misogynistic?
Yep. Can say what you like.
I still feel as though Australia is a little bit behind the times in terms of women in business.
Yeah.
And it's one of the fastest growing demographics.
Yeah.
So I want women to get out of, and I've mentioned this to you before, that I hate the term mumpreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there will be lots of people watching this that disagree and probably refer to themselves that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, it says that, I don't know, like you stay at home and you don't really have a serious business. And we would never refer to somebody as a dadpreneur.
Yeah.
So why is it mumpreneur? She is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's what she does.
Yeah.
And that was another sort of reason for writing the book, was to get women out of that I've just got a little business mentality and into I can actually make a good career out of this.
And I think, though, I don't know where it all came from, but I think a lot of women get into their own business because they've had kids and they want to stay at home with their kids, and they're looking at different ways of doing it. And it's just a matter of whether they classify themselves as a hobby or as a business, because, you know, there's plenty of stories of successful women that have families and able to do it all, but they would never call themselves mumpreneurs or, you know, mummy bloggers or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that all women just need to, you know, I remember I was at an event a few months ago and someone said to me, when did it become, you know, when did we get a third gender? When did it become men, women and mummy bloggers? I'm like, I'm not really sure. But then we may have this opinion because we're not mums. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see.
That is a good point too, because neither of us have kids. And I feel like I'm offended on someone else's behalf.
Yeah.
I'm offended on behalf of all of those incredibly intelligent, driven women that managed to get up in the morning, get kids fed, bathed, sorted, managed to run successful businesses, and then sort of come home and, you know, look after kids again. I don't know how they do it, and I don't think mumpreneur is an appropriate recognition for how hard that actually is.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if there's a dynamic where both parents go to work or have their own businesses and they work out of the home, they don't call the dad, like you would say, dadpreneurs. It's just he has a business and he's a dad. It's not
an entrepreneur or he's a businessman, and that's
it.
That's where it's left off.
I wonder whether if it was women that gave them the title though.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
Very possibly.
I'm not sure.
A lot of the time it's women that sabotage women as well.
Yeah.
And that's another mistake that I've outlined in my book, is allowing frenemies, as I call them, your friendly enemies.
Yeah.
To allow you or to make you think that you're less than what you are.
Yeah.
And I experienced this so much in my first year of business. It's less so now, but it still does happen, where I'd have friends say to me, so when are you going to get a real job?
Really?
And it was just a knife in the heart.
Yeah.
I would be literally working 50 hours a week. You know, I was so structured in what I was doing, and I was so driven and so excited, and then you've got somebody saying, when are you going to get a real job?
Yeah.
And it's hard as a female, even as strong-willed as I am, not to feel a little bit of a pang of, oof, maybe this isn't a real job.
Yeah. But it's all people's perceptions. I was talking to a client a few weeks ago, and he travels all the time, all around the world, for his business. And he was saying, you know, I go for 2 hours for a surf one morning, and he puts it on Facebook, and everyone sees all his world travel as a holiday. Yeah. Even though they don't see the 12 hours for the rest of the day that he actually worked. And it's kind of the same thing with your friends. They see what they want to see and don't see all the other stuff behind.
So that's a really good point. I spent 7 or 8 years travelling between 2 countries, working in the UK, in the USA, in Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, China. And I spent my entire life basically on planes and in hotels.
Yeah.
And my friends would say to me, you have the best life ever. And I'd think, how you've really got no concept of how difficult it is to count your work week when you literally have to do 8 hours of work on an aeroplane when your body has to be sleeping, or you've got to get off an aeroplane and walk straight into your first meeting.
Yeah.
But then people only know what you tell them, I guess, as well. So that is a bit of a challenge with women, and my friends I got it quite a bit.
Yeah, and people don't think of all the travel. You know, it's exhausting getting on planes and getting cabs to your hotel and eating crappy food, and you know everyone goes, "Oh, you went here, you went there." It's not as glamorous.
Away from your family and your friends.
Yeah.
If you're sick, it's just the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
It's quite lonely, and it's generally just a hotel room.
Yeah.
And I've seen a million of them.
Yeah. They're not that exciting.
I think there's been maybe 3 3 where I've gotten really excited and thought I was lucky to be there.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was in a hotel room in a city somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the only part of that city I got to see was in the cab from one meeting to the next.
Yeah.
Peering out the window like that.
Oh, what's that?
I'm feeling really sorry for myself.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, that said, if we go back to the way women allow you to feel about your business, I have written a blog, and it was one that got a lot of interest and a lot of activity, and it was called "I'm Self-Employed, Not Unemployed."
Yes.
Let's explain the difference.
I remember that one.
And that was going through all of those points. Things like, you know, in the beginning, people saying to me, "When are you going to get a real job?" People assuming that I knew what was going on Oprah that day,
yeah.
or I'd watch Days of Our Lives or whatever. I don't watch them. I don't watch TV during the day. I don't just get up and do a load of washing. There was another sort of big one that I felt strongly about too, which was the number of people that said to me when I started becoming successful and started earning a nice amount of money, they'd say, "I hate my job. I should just do what you're doing." And I think to myself,
like you just wake up and have a successful business.
From the age of 19, when I got my first management job, through to, you know, when I was 30-something, business myself, all of those years, all I did was work my butt off.
Yeah.
I worked, I studied, I read every marketing book, every sales book, while everybody else was, you know, doing other things.
Yeah.
Or not wanting to step up and take the kind of responsibility that I was. And a lot of the jobs that I took were actually quite low paying in comparison to what my involvement in the business was. But I did it because I knew one day it would all pay off.
Yeah.
So to have someone say, "I should just do what you're doing," well, you better start now because you're going to need, you know, 15 years of hardcore business experience.
Yeah. The one I hate is the, you know, I just need help with this, or can you just do this for me? You know, or just pick up this person and do this. It's like, well, I work, you know, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, just like everyone else. Yes, I have the flexibility, but I'm still running a business. If I had a job with someone else, you wouldn't ring me and say, "Hey, can you leave your job and just go and do this stuff?" And it's all those things that people don't think about when you know...
There's that... Yeah, there's that real fine line that I struggled when I went into business for myself because I was an incredibly dedicated employee.
Yeah.
And I did everything by the rules and, you know, did the long hours and the works. I never took advantage of anybody. And it's funny that my biggest struggle in business, if I had to identify the one thing that I struggled with, it was transitioning from being an employee to being self-employed, because I would get that, I don't know, sick feeling if I didn't have my day completely planned, or if I did pop out to do something that I shouldn't have been, I'd be nervous about it. And that's the way that you need to feel if you're starting your own business. Yeah. Because it's so easy to start doing things in your own business. Every time you think to yourself, should I or shouldn't I be doing this? I always say, ask yourself if an employer would allow you to do this. Yeah. Because we do, as women, for employers, more than we'll ever do for ourselves. Yeah. So, you know, if somebody employed you, you'd say, "Listen, I'm working, I'm so sorry." But when you're self-employed, someone says, "Oh, Nat, can you just run to the Brisbane airport and pick up so-and-so?" Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. The answer is no. I'm
working. Yeah, exactly right. And I find, though, with myself, and, you know, I'm not the most structured person in a lot of stuff that I do, I'll have really good weeks where 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it's hardcore work. And then I'll have other weeks where, you know, I'll take half a day off here and it's working for me. You know, it's not the best solution, but I think that's one of the reasons why you go into business for yourself, for that flexibility. And if you need to do stuff, it's all about finding that good balance. But you're right, you know, especially when you start out, you need to do the hard yards.
If you do get to a point where you almost enjoy doing my 40 hours a week. as strange as that sort of sounds. Like, I feel like it's quite an accomplishment. And I'm the same, there are days where I'll be sitting down writing somebody's audit report for them, which is a real brain strain. And get to say 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'll literally be brain dead. And I'll go, I'm just going to go and have a massage, or I'm going to go to a movie and I'm just going to chill out for a couple of hours. And I have no guilt associated with that anymore, because I know my capacity to work to its fullest, and I know when I'm good and when I'm not. Yeah. In the beginning, I don't think that you know that. No. I don't think that you know how far you can really push yourself.
I was sorry, keep going.
I remember in my first year, there would be times when people would call me, and in my first year I might have had, say, 4 or 5 clients, and people would say to me, how are you going? And I'd be, I'm flat out, I am so busy. And I look back now and I think, wow, I've now got anywhere between sort of 12 and 15 clients at the moment, and a whole lot of other responsibilities. Yeah. And I think back to that and think, gosh, I don't know what I was actually doing with my time. Yeah.
I was talking this morning to Louise. She has a company called the Revamp Experience, and she teaches people how to be productive, you know, when they're working from home and organisation and those types of things. And one of the things she said is, that I know you'll agree with, is not to multitask, but also to multitasking. Find your peak time during the day and get the working on your business stuff done during that time. And I think, you know, I'm good at doing the peak stuff. I'm not so good at the non-multitasking yet. But, you know, I think when you're used to being in a cubicle to having your own freedom of your own business, it takes a little bit of adjusting to get it right.
Absolutely, to find the right formula. And that's where getting a bit of professional help can get you through those times. Yeah. Just navigating through what is or isn't going to work. Yeah. And I think that people have a perception that I'm going to walk in and say, here's what you have to do, here's the formula, and that's what you've got to follow, and they're afraid that that's not going to work for them. But there's, you know, more than one way to skin a cat. I actually really hate that saying.
Sounds very gruesome. Yeah.
It is very gruesome. There's more than one way to come up with a solution for a problem. So we may have to go through, as you would know when I, you know, was working with you guys, that we had to try probably 7 different ways to do one task to make sure that we found something that actually worked for you. Yeah.
Well, I think that's important because, you know, even if we look at our business, like, so Mum and I, 2 completely different ways of trying to do things, and we still want the same end result. But if you tried to make me work like she does or her like me, it would have caused us both, you know, a lot of grief, and we would have achieved nothing in the end.
You're essentially trying to hammer a square peg into a round hole, and you choose to go into business for yourself so that you don't feel like you're that square all the time. Yeah. I know for myself, I worked, you know, say 8 in the morning through till 5 or 6 in the afternoon for some employers. And I found that incredibly constricting because I actually find that I'm more creative after 7 p.m. at night. So I couldn't leave the office, and I hit the very usual crash at 3 p.m, 3:30. Yeah. I'll hit that crash, and I just need to tune out for a couple of hours. But when you're employed by somebody, you can't do that. No. Which is a lesson as an employer as well.
I was reading something in a magazine the other day. There is a big push now towards more flexible contracts and work from home, where employees, given the right guidelines, can actually be more productive than trying to put them into, like you say, a square peg in a round hole. You know, it just doesn't work for everyone.
I had a PA that worked for me in one of my overseas businesses that I worked in, and I had her in the office with me 40 hours a week. At a point, she needed to be working from home. She had an injury, skiing injury. So we set her up an office at home and she worked 20 hours a week, but she achieved the same amount in 20 hours.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have anybody to speak to in the office. Not that and I never saw her as a time waster.
Yeah.
She's an amazing employee, but she didn't have that time to do those things. She wasn't being interrupted by me constantly, which was a big lesson for me.
Yep.
I would always want to chat to her about what I was doing. It was completely appropriate because all I was doing was messing up her workflow.
Yeah.
And what we realised was that she, like me, couldn't multitask.
Yeah.
But my expectation of her was to be able to listen to me, talk to her in the background while she tried to book flights for me or tried to do this or tried to do that. And it just didn't work for her personality.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I never realised that because I am not a multitasker by nature.
Yeah. I think, though, we live in an environment where we're kind of forced a bit to be multitaskers. And, you know, we've got so much information overload at the moment now that, you know, they want you to be watching TV while you're using the app that goes with the TV show on your iPad, you know. They're trying to force more multitasking to happen, and it's just making us less and less productive. And, you know, I watched probably 3 TV shows last night. I couldn't tell you a thing that happened in any of them because you're doing too many other things. You're not getting any information retention.
No. And
it's killing business.
It's one of those things too that women are told constantly that women are good multitaskers. So they always feel like that's something that they should be doing in their business because that is a strength of women.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not a strength of women. And in fact, I kind of struggle to find anybody that's a great multitasker.
I think it's a myth. I don't think it's possible.
I think it's a myth as well.
Yeah.
To say that.
So at the moment, people can actually win a copy of your book. How long is that going for?
It is until the 17th of October.
Okay.
But depending on when this video
goes live, yeah.
I will run them constantly because I was really quite flattered by the amount of interest that it got.
Okay, fantastic.
In the first 10 to 15 minutes, I got over 100 entries. So
awesome.
Yeah, and
is it available on Kindle yet, or still? I know you can get the PDF from your website, and you can order the book to be delivered. Are we on Kindle yet, or not yet? Not yet? Okay.
Yeah, work in progress.
Working on Kindle, that's fine. PDF is just as good.
My favourite social media person was that there were some glitches, so...
Gotta love technology.
On Kindle, yeah.
And so if people would like to book in for a free session with you, are they best to send you a message via your website, which is melaniemiller.net.au? Excellent.
They can do that. Anybody at any time welcome to pick up the phone and call. I thoroughly believe in that there's all of the information out there.
Yep.
That what I charge for is my ability to push you through the information as opposed to the information itself. So anybody who wants to pick up the phone and call is more than welcome to do so.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll put all your What was that, sorry?
Not on a Friday after midday.
No, not on a Friday. Any other time during business hours is fine. Awesome. I'll put all the contact details underneath anyway, and I do suggest everyone read your book. It is great. And book in for a free session if it's something that would work for your business as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. We could talk all afternoon.
Oh, I know.
It's quite dangerous when you and I start talking.
Yeah, it is. And okay.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.